All right, now if you just looked up and saw this group, I know at first you're thinking, oh no, who's getting fired? No, I'm just kidding. But this is the elders that are up here, and HUD, and one of them's joining. And we just wanted to kind of inform you on some things that we need to inform you on as far as where things are going and heading. So HUD, take it over.
So I just wanted to let you guys know that the elders made the decision yesterday that we are going to suspend in-person meeting for the next 11 weeks. We're targeting January 17th as a time where we think we're going to be able to safely get back together. That will allow us to see how this virus that is just surging right now, how it's going to be affected going through the holidays. And also it'll give us more time to see where we're at with a vaccine. I think the important thing to see here is that this isn't open-ended. We do plan on being back in person. We just think right now it's just best that we do this. But please hear us when we say this. This is not a decision that was made out of fear or lack of faith. One of the cornerstones that the Crossing Church has been built on is that we've always wanted to be active and supportive in the communities that we all serve. And we want our presence, or we want what we do to reflect the love, the compassion, the kindness, and the grace that Jesus Christ has shown us. And we think this decision most accurately reflects that attitude. More importantly, I think what you guys need to know is the staff, the elders. This is not something that we made a snap decision on. This is something we've been agonizing over. We talked about this for the last several weeks as we've seen this surge. We've seen what's going on in the hospitals. You guys know what's going on. They are at almost max capacity right now, to the point where some of them are actually starting to turn people away. So that just doesn't affect the sick people, but it also affects those people that are treating, that are on the front lines of this, that are treating those that are sick. They are putting themselves at risk every single day, and we just want to help minimize that risk. And we think by best doing that by not meeting in person and spreading this disease. Now, just to let you know, these guys, they come to Unity, but it was 4.5 hours yesterday after praying and fasting over this for a week, talking this for several weeks. It was a 4.5 hour Zoom call that we came to this decision. So it's not something that anybody's taken lightly. But again, we just want to do our part in minimizing this and being as safe as possible for the people that are on the front lines of this right now, and to keep as many people out of the hospital as we think we can. This is, over the last 8 months, for me and for a lot of us, we haven't known many of the people that have gotten this disease, but over the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's really starting to hit home. We've had somebody on staff here. Just for perspective, this morning we had 4 people that were supposed to work in the kids' areas that called in that we either have tested positive or that are in quarantine because they've been around people testing positive. So this is why we're doing this. Please know that this has nothing to do with our faith in God to overcome this. We fully believe that He can, but I think He also gives us a responsibility in this and say, look, I've given you enough warning signs. Do your part, and I think that's what we're going to do here. Just a couple other quick key points. This is not a complete campus shutdown like we did in March. For the small groups that are still meeting here, they can use this area to spread out and socially distance. We're going to continue to allow that. The one thing we want to do is encourage everyone to just stay engaged with each other. Stay engaged through social media, through our apps, through calling each other on the phone, through email. If you need any of us, we are available. It's just our names. Our email addresses are our names and @cometothecrossing.com. Or even if the elders, if you have something for them, you can send something to elders@cometothecrossing.com. One of the things that we will focus on is increasing our engagement online as we come out of this, and making sure we have a really good plan coming out of what church looks like once we open the doors back up to start meeting in person again. And last, if you want to blame anybody, I am one of those people that are high risk. The elders know that it's physically impossible for me not to hug people when they come in the door. So if I get it, if the disease doesn't kill me, my wife will. So you can blame me. But I want to give the elders a chance to give any other perspective.
Yeah, just real quick, Mark Kilgore. I've been a part of the elders since we've had elders here at the Crossing, and I've been involved in some really, really tough conversations, some really, really difficult decisions. This is one of the hardest ones I've been involved in for sure, and it was a 4.5-hour Zoom call. Anybody that's on Zoom, if you're on Zoom for 4.5 hours, that's crazy. And we butted heads. We searched and talked and went through everything that we could consider. And when we came down to the conclusion, it wasn't out of fear. It wasn't out of anxieties or worries. It was out of care. It was out of concern. And it was out of love for not just the as HUD said, the people in the hospitals and the doctors, but for all of us too. The last thing any one of us wants to see is one of our brothers and sisters in the hospital on a ventilator because of some decision that maybe we were a part of. And even worse than that, to see someone potentially die from this. So it's out of love that we're trying to make this decision. And I wanted to say that. It's a hard thing to close the doors in this church. It's a hard thing to make that decision. And we certainly didn't take it lightly. We certainly didn't just decide to do that all of a sudden. But looking at everything that we discussed, everything that we talked about for 4.5 hours, again, it came down to our care and our concern and our love. And that's kind of where we ended up with our decision. And I just wanted to share that a bit. I don't know if anyone else would like to share. Is that?
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I just happened to be up here and praying, and the Lord reminded me of something actually I watched on TV last night. I was watching one of those storm chaser weather kind of people, that goes out in the storm and rescues people. This was a guy out of Florida that has one of those big giant airboats, and he's a Christian, and he goes to wherever the hurricanes are, and he goes out and rescues people. And he made a comment that coming off of that 4.5-hour Zoom meeting kind of made me understand. He made a comment, and he talked about, somebody said something about, well, you give a lot of your people that you rescue your love. And he goes, love, he said, what's it feel like to love people the way you do? And he says, love is not a feeling. That feeling of love is the fruit of real, deep love. Real deep love is when you sacrifice yourself and your health and your well-being for others. And that's why he does what he does. I tell you what, to close on our personal service, our physical services, that's a sacrifice for us. Huge sacrifice. I don't like it, but we do it for the greater good for those that we love. And again, it's not a feeling. It's not it's the fruit of the deeper love of sacrifice. And that's what we're doing as the Crossing, is sacrificing, meeting together for those that might be in danger or come down with this, and that would just break all of our hearts. So I don't know why. Anybody else?
I'm the freshman elder. My name's Sean Martin, and that was my first meeting. And so I hereby resign. Thank you. I just wanted to say, a saying I've heard years ago that served me well, and it fit right in with this place, with what's happening here. Is a decision right or wrong? We can play games, and especially with sin, we can get right up to the edge playing that game of right or wrong. It's not too bad. No, it's not really. Well, this decision, is it right? Is it wrong to close? Is it wise? Is it wise? Will stop you in your tracks every time. And I think wisdom is speaking to the eldership.
Like Vernon, I had decided that I wasn't going to say anything this morning, but I feel the Spirit as well. My name's Greg Barlow, and I've been one of the elders here for a few years. My wife, Sheila's a nurse. My mother was a nurse. My sister-in-law is a nurse. So, I hear it from the medical perspective. At first I thought, this may not be the best decision. But after we discussed it, prayed about it, and really considered it, I thought to myself, how many of you remember the bracelets WWJD? What would Jesus do? For those of you who are new to Christianity, or for those of you who are veterans, think about it when Jesus was on the temple when Satan had tempted him for 40 days and 40 nights. And Satan looked at him and said, throw yourself off this temple because the angels, they'll catch you. Nothing will happen to you. And what did Jesus say? Thou shalt not tempt the Lord. And I just don't feel like in this situation that we should tempt this. It's just not safe. Hospitals in Italy had to determine who died and who lived because they did not have enough ventilators. Could you imagine that happening here where we had to say, sorry, we don't have any ventilators, you have to die? I just can't imagine that. So I believe with all my heart that we have made the right decision for our flock.
So in case I wasn't real clear, next Sunday, November 22nd, we are going to stay at the 9:30 online live. So that's when we'll be available, and then it will be available after that for replay.
We've always wanted to be a church that's multi-site. We've talked about it. We've been planning on it. And this happened a little sooner than we thought because there is such a thing as a digital campus, and there is now such a thing as an in-person campus. And for many of us who are here, we are resisting the idea of it because we want to be here, we want to be in person. But the reality is, and the statistics are showing, that the younger generations and the generation above that, they're actually liking this digital thing and this online thing. So we are going to do everything we can. And part of what we're trying to plan for in 2021 is how we even do our digital campus even better. Because right now, that's not the front door of the church. Right now, the statistics are staggering that people check out a church online long before they even set foot on it. And that does not lie. You can go home and Google that stuff. So the point is, we are only suspending our in-person service, but our church is not closing. We still have a digital campus that has not stopped. And I just want to say this. This is me being a little personal. And I mean, these guys all said great, warm and fuzzy stuff. I'm going to say something that's going to have a little edge to it. I've heard people talk about us closing. That is a slap in the face to the tech team. That's a slap in the face to those who have been serving for the last 8 months, regardless of whether the building has been opened or not. That is a slap in the face to those who have been continuing to go to community groups, whether it be in person, on the back porch, or Zooming. That is a slap in the face to this staff who has never stopped doing everything we can to engage, to respond to every need that we've ever been aware of. This church never closed. And I want to get rid of that language. This church is not going to close. Because the church is the people. Don't get me wrong. We love being here. We do. As I was listening to worship in the backs beforehand, it brought tears to my eyes that we're not going to be in this room together again until next year, which is only 6 weeks. But the reality is, I love it when we are together. All of us do. There's not one person that says, I think I'd rather just not do this anymore. Nobody on this staff, nobody in this leadership, nobody that's been serving through this crisis, who are leading in small groups or attending, nobody wants to see this part of church go away, and it's not going to. But what this has opened our eyes to is there is a digital impact that we've had to pivot and learn to do, and we're going to focus on even doing that better. So when you decide to go to Florida, you don't have to leave this church. When you decide to tune in or whatever. So again, I just want to be sure that we do everything we can to eliminate the word closed church. Because that's never happened here. And it never will. Unless the Lord decides to do it. So, again, sorry about that. They were also nice and kind and sweet and warm and fuzzy. But daggone it, I'm frustrated with it just like you all are. I am. And I'm ready for this to be over. And every time we try to set a date and mark a calendar, we have hope, and then we get discouraged because it gets kicked further down the road. We did not meet in this place at Easter. My hope is that this coming Easter, we will be back. And we will be rolling in here, and we'll be rolling digitally. That's my hope, because my hope is the vaccine will happen. My hope is that we will shatter this curve and plateau. That's my hope. That's what I'm praying for. But in the meantime, be praying for this church. Be sharing. Be online. Be engaging. It helps for you to share, if you're on Facebook, our services. It helps for you to engage. And so do everything you can to engage. And one other thing, if you have somebody working in the healthcare business right now, reach out to them, encourage them, appreciate them, because they are exhausted. They are tired. And we as a church are just going to be for them right now. We're going to at least not do our part to contribute to their work. We're for them. So, stand with me, we'll pray, and then unfortunately, because the way church is these days, you guys got to get the heck out of here and not talk to anybody. That's just the way it is. Isn't that great? So, pray with me. God, I thank you so much for the leaders that are a part of this church. The sacrifice not only they make, but the sacrifice their families make. I know, God, that we are not a denomination. We are an independent church. There are decisions being made by other churches around this country and around this world. And we have the sole responsibility to make decisions to protect, guide, lead this flock, the one that you've entrusted us with. So when we make decisions, we don't make decisions based on what 10 other churches are doing. We make decisions based on what you think it is that we should be doing. And we trust and hope and pray that that is the pursuit we are making here. And if not, I pray that we have an awareness and we repent, God, because you do know our hearts. Our hearts are for the lost. Our hearts are for this family who you've entrusted us with. And so, God, I thank you for this group. I thank you for those that are out there, our healthcare frontline workers. I thank you for those who are leading businesses, who are in any position of leadership right now, because the burden is heavy, because there is not a manual. There isn't a pattern to be able to say, this is how it works, God. Just be with people who are making tough decisions. And God, we again thank you for this church body, wherever we are, whether we're watching online right now or later, or whether we're right here on the premises. God, I thank you for this church body. And we love you. And everybody said, amen. Sorry, Jay, stole your line.